everybody, Slim Kirby here, and welcome to my new weekend project. This project's going to be a little different than what you're probably used to on my channel. You've already probably seen the title by this point. This is going to be a playthrough of WarioWare Inc. Mega Micro Games. This is a game that came out in 2003, and as far as what type of game it is, kind of up for interpretation, in my own honest opinion. This was a game that, I wasn't really even looking at for the longest time, but I had some leftover Christmas money for one of my Christmases, and then I saw this game in the stores, and I'm like, you know what, I've heard some interesting things about this game, I'll go ahead and get it. And when I got the game, I was actually really impressed with how much I enjoyed it. I found this game to be a lot of fun, and over the years I've gotten many of the other WarioWare games, and they've all been very fun. Never got into that what I thought was really cool. It was a great idea, but I never really had a chance to mess with that at all. But yeah, I really loved the original GBA version. I loved WarioWare Touched when that came out for the DS. WarioWare Smooth Moves was also a lot of fun. I just had a lot of fun with this series, honestly. And yeah, I think I'm going to actually showcase this game for you guys. So here it is. I'm gonna load the title screen here. We have WarioWare Inc. Mega Micro Games. Doesn't say that on the screen, but that is technically the subtitle for the game. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get started here. We're going to name our file. I'm just gonna name it just Slim. I think they give you 5 characters to work with, but I'm only going to use 4. Basically, this is a game where the story, Wario sees that video games are in a huge boom, so he decides to make his own video game.
30 minutes have already passed for 50 hours.
And he hires the help of all of his friends to make it happen, so that's pretty much what we got going on here.
Have backup ones?
Think you can beat my games? Oh, we'll see if I can. It's almost in an arcade format, I guess you could say, where you just try to get the high score and stuff of that nature. You play a series of games are very simple. They usually require just very simple inputs or objectives. Jump over a car, and yeah, just things of that nature. Some of these games can be really silly. Some of them can be really cool. Some can be just okay, what the hell is this? But I don't know. I think it's charming for what it is, honestly. And after you've beaten a few games, the game will speed up a little bit. So games will be coming. The idea is you have kind of a 3-second time limit for most of the games. They may feel longer at first, but when you start getting to the higher levels, you'll literally only have 3 seconds. In some cases, really only 1 second. So you really gotta get the science down for these games if you want to actually complete them all. Stages are generally a bit longer than just the normal micro games.
That's what that ladies. It's true. They look at him and it's so
you basically have to beat this in those 4 lives. Okay. Yeah, I was a little off on the timing there, I guess you could say.
Thank you. Never could have guessed.
And boom! There we go. Now, the first time you actually play a collection of micro games stops after you beat the boss level, and you get to continue on with the story. But there is definitely more to it than just that, as I'll be going over. This little cutscene we gotta play right here.
Right over there. Yeah.
Apparently, Wario can turn himself small and fit inside of a boombox, which is interesting.
Just orange V8, spill it every time.
Hey, you did it. Next, it's Jimmy.
Jimmy's model, though,
so Jimmy is one of Wario's friends, so we'll unlock his minigames next. But before we go to see Jimmy, we are going to actually go back into the introduction stage, because after you beat the game once, it'll actually go on for as long as you can go. So until you lose your 4 lives, you'll keep on playing, which I think is really cool. But also, one thing I want to point out is the grid here. You can actually look at the grid of all the players' minigames. So, for the introduction stages, these are all the games we basically saw. But, as you'll notice, there are 3 question marks games you can play in the introduction stage. Now, when you play through this the first time, like every stage the first time, you'll get all of these games. No matter during your first playthrough, you will always see these games, at least from what I'm familiar with anyway. So for some of these games, you will have to play this a second time in order to see them. General rule of thumb for this is I'm going to play the stage once. After I finish it, I'm going to play it again, see how high of a score I can get, and also try to unlock all of the games as well. And once I do that, then I'll probably move on to the next stage and then just keep going until I get to the very end. Once I've completed the game, I'll try to unlock everything else. There are 2 unlockable secret games that take a really long time to unlock. I'm not going to show the entire process behind that, but I will the basic conditions to unlock those games. And of course, if there are any micro games that we haven't seen, I'll definitely show those as well. Since I am doing this on a new file, I could always just jump into one of my other files and then show all the micro games off that I haven't shown that way, because I do technically have a completed file of this, so that should not be a problem. So yeah, without further ado, let's get back into the introduction stage and try this again. We don't need to see the cutscenes, so we'll just jump right into it. And it's also worth mentioning that once you get past the boss minigame the first time, not only will the minigames get faster, but you'll also unlock certain variations of some minigames, like a harder version of those minigames. So, for instance, we'll just use the next game for an example. For this one, you'll have, it'll be harder to avoid traffic. For this one, you'll have more articles of clothing you have to fit on Wario before you end. Stuff like that. They'll definitely find ways to make the games tougher as you go on. Basically, every micro game has 3 stages, just to give you an idea of what you're working with. And with this, I believe we've actually seen all the introduction stage minigames now. We got kind of lucky in that round where we got the 3 games we hadn't seen yet in that first 10. But there's also not a lot of minigames here either, so that's not really saying a whole lot. Now for the minigame, or the boss